Daily Dose. My name is Robert. I'm here with Anthony Netto of Stand Up and Play is probably the best way to, yes, very
Foundation.
the foundation, and we'll put that link down there. And we were talking about just off before we started access to rehabilitation, and the feeling as someone who has been injured. Are you a paraplegic?
Yes.
Yeah.
I am what
So
I would call it incomplete now because I have sensory motors. If it's not much, but it's something. Whereas before it wasn't. So I've also had that recovery over the years with stem cell, and the fact that I didn't just sit the whole time and my spine was never severed. It was only compressed. So there's a bit of it, a few prayers, obviously. But the active standing, everyone says over all these years that you've been doing is basically giving you the recovery that you have. Now they can't put their finger on it; they're not allowed to. I just said I didn't take it sitting down. Excuse the pun. I'm a very stubborn guy. People who know me, I don't give up that easily. But I think that's coming back from the military days. um,
now,
you don't lick your wounds; you get up and go. Otherwise, you don't get back from where we used to be in the old days.
are you familiar with, or have you worked at all with the Christopher Reeve Foundation?
In actual fact, I've known them for many, many, many years, and when Christopher was still alive, we were going to get together and get him. But it was being a quadriplegic, a different story,
Right.
with no hand function. But the act of standing, that if I'm not mistaken, I think he did that. One of the reasons of his death was because of the infection that he got through skin issues,
Mhm.
even though he had all the money in the world. Um, that's the things that unfortunately happen. But he was as a quadriplegic. They have to turn them the whole time and maneuver their body, and I believe that's what eventually did he surpassed that way. But our whole mission was to you got to keep the people active. If you can get them actively, yeah, and with Parkinson's, just putting a putter in their hand and getting them to
Right.
and just recently, it wasn't actually that long ago, because I put him in the new version. So it must have been within the last year and a half. I have a gentleman with Parkinson's in Arizona, and it was like a miracle for him. He couldn't do much. I gave him a putter. He loved golf all his life, and he hold it from because we don't get them straight on the greens. We want them to teach them how to use the machine properly before they go on the fine holy grail without ripping it up. Because the machine doesn't rip any grass up, but if you do any sharp, tight turns, you'd smudge the green. So we don't do that in my training. I get them off the green, and he actually hold two or three of those putts that he did, and that was like the good old days. And you could see the gentleman lit up, and he was like 10 years, 20 years younger. And then we took him to a tee box, and he hit 130, 140 yards straight down the middle of the fairway, even though he couldn't probably feed himself without the food falling off his spoon.
Right.
And this was amazing for his daughter who was there. And yet, once again, the problem was the financial. Where can he go? So we did have, and we do have a program, but it's an hour and a half away, and that's a problem for most of the people. I would have loved to have just given them one, but unfortunately, the money's tight, especially
Oh.
after the second version. Um, but that's what the foundation does, and we get together and we help the local communities around the corner, other charities to get together, and obviously the Stand Up and Play Foundation gives grants, and to help families and people in areas or other local foundations or golf pros who want to start something similar, golf and therapy, coming back to golf and therapy because it is therapy pure.
Right.
Nothing about you can do something with a family. That's what you can go with your dad, and the last thing you have to worry about is dad falling, dad hurting himself. Dad's just going to have a good time. Make sure, obviously, when it gets to a narrow bridge, maybe with the Parkinson's, although the great thing about this new joystick, we've actually been able to do it on mode one. That even with a tremor, you can still without it won't affect the steering immediately. So it's like a delayed. So yes, it's improved a hell of a lot.
Well, it's an amazing product, and for the listening audience that doesn't know, my dad, longtime golfer, big part of his personality. When he stopped being able to play about 2.5 years ago, it was a major concern about quality of life for him. I mean, what else could he replace that with that was going to make him happy? And when my sister stumbled across the earlier version of your product, the Paragolfer, and found one at a course nearby, we were blown away. And there was dad within a few minutes, a very nice golf pro puts him in comfortably, safely, and he's out on the driving range and he's hitting. and then takes him on a putting green and says, here's how this works. So he hasn't played around yet, but he's been on the driving range and he's been on a putting green, which he hadn't been in years. And we can look forward to him going out to play around because that's offered as well. And these things were gone from his life previously. And
Right.
that's, you know, we spend a lot of time talking about loss and the impossible. And when something comes back, an innovator or an innovation that brings these things back, it feels like nothing short of a miracle.
Well, we definitely have the medical side are looking into solving the problem with likewise Parkinson's, but also a paraplegic to overcome the paralyzation. There's so much involved, but what's the use if the body's just been sitting around watching TV and deteriorating because you're just sitting, you haven't done anything active. So even with all that stuff that's going to arrive, your bone density, osteoporosis, your other instincts, your digestive tract, they all cause issues, kidney failures. So your body is then actually just a wreck by the time they find these, and you can't even wait there. So yes, we were actually part of that program for solving the solution to get back to standing and walking again. I don't believe that they're that far off. Say it's 10 years. But if you put a healthy person in a chair and you tie them in for 10 years, they're not going to walk, even though they've got no injury. So yeah, it's something that I'm very proud of, and I've got to keep reminding myself. But I do get that reminder when I'm actually leaving tomorrow morning at 5. I'll be at the airport, going to a young veteran that has been helped by the foundation, and in actual fact, Tunnel to Towers has been a great supporter of our veterans, and gave me this opportunity to help, and it'll be almost like over the 329th or 330th veteran that we were able to help over the last 15 years. But thanks to other organizations like the Gary Sinise, like Gary Player Foundation, like as I said, Tunnel to Towers, and the Robert Irvine Foundation, and obviously all the volunteers and the Stand Up and Play Foundation donors, because the money does go 100% to it. And we do give them the grants and discounts that we get straight from the factory. So it's not a money-making racket as far as I'm concerned. Yes, the company, I believe, needs to make money. They've told me that over and over again. But they're not losing a dime. But I understand that. So if the Stand Up and Play Foundation can help, and Parkinson's community would like to get together to work with the Stand Up and Play Foundation, we can definitely help more people. Yeah, and together, I think we're strong. United we stand is our motto. We started that a long time ago, and I'm very proud to say that we've got a lot of happy people out there, and I've got kids out there that haven't had half the operations or 3/4 of the operations that their counterparts have had because of their active standing life.
Anthony, this is spectacular. I mean, all of it, and the work broadly and specifically, of course, because we know what we're dealing with in the Parkinson's community, but it's anybody who doesn't have access, right? This is a human thing. This is a connection thing, a community thing. It's a dignity and respect thing. So I can't thank you.
Golf course did a good thing in your area. The fact that your dad had access was thanks to them, that they, the city golf course, it's obviously a public golf course, and they got involved, and the foundation helped them as well. And that's why we want to keep, other people aware. And thank you to your podcast that might reach the odd person. By the way, it's not just for paraplegics. I've got people who have seniors who have actually hip issues or knee issues, and they think they have to stop, and just getting in and out of a golf cart could be a hell of an issue for them. Whereas this one, it's a lot easier to get in and out, because even though they don't might need it to, as a paraplegic would, we use it as a single rider cart. So we're hoping that more and more golf courses will come to the table and say, well, we'll use it as a single rider adaptive cart that we have that can actually also be used for a paraplegic. So it's as well as a kid.
Yeah. You think about people maybe who've had a knee or a hip replacement. They're, that's a huge part of the
Absolutely.
the people who are golfers. And instead of being down and out for 6, 9 months, whatever it is, you can get out and play while you're rehabilitating. Or
right. Or I have a senior golfer. They said, Anthony, I just don't want to play. I'm holding up my buddies because I can't really walk that well. This way, they're allowed to use the machine. They get onto the green. They don't use the standing frame system, but they use it. They step in front of it and they putt and they drive straight off the green. That way, they can go up the steep embankments, up to the tee boxes without falling over. So it's a safety issue for them that they didn't want to and so they carried on playing. They got back to playing. So it's not just the paraplegia. The vehicle itself, the Verticat is a multi-purpose vehicle. As I said, I use it for archery, I use it for skeet and trap shooting, fishing. But yes, golf was the biggest part of my life, and I used it to teach, and that gave me my mission. Why I survived, it was an answer to the prayer.
Anthony, thank you. I think you're answering a lot of people's prayers, and I want to thank you for joining us.
Feel
Anything?
free to give my name and number.
Yeah, well, I will. I will continue to reach out into the Parkinson's community. We're sharing it now, but continue to share more because I do believe what you're doing is a godsend, and I want to thank you for spending time with us here.
Well, I appreciate your time, and yeah, good luck, and I look forward to meeting Dad sometime.
Yes,
we actually have in Oakland. I know we have the new version there as well. I'd love him to try it out. We can talk later.
let's do that. We'll talk, and I'll send you clips and all that sort of
please.
stuff.
I'd love to see you swing. I'd love to see you swing.
All right, be
And
well.
I'll send you a swing of a Parkinson gentleman. The one